Got a dilemma? Please send it to dilemma@wretched.org, dilemma@wretched.org, and we will give it a go, even if it's a bit of a controversial subject like this anonymous dilemma, an apparel dilemma. Oh boy, this one won't rankle anybody's feathers as we saddle up next to what this person asked. Here's the dilemma. At church this Sunday, a woman in the front row was wearing a very, very short dress that was obviously not appropriate. What to do? Scold her, shame her, and the next Sunday bring a scarlet A and tell her, why don't you just sew this on that skirt? If there were enough room on it. I'm so sorry I forgot the last segment. What should you do? Well, there's many things that you can do and many things that you don't have to do. We need to remember, inside of a church, there are degrees of sanctification on display all the time. So who is this woman? How many years has she been attending church? How long has she been a believer? I get it. I understand the implications to this. The lust of the eyes, the temptation that it could cause somebody to sin. I understand that. But I also want to be thinking about the woman wearing the miniskirt, and I want to be thinking about her soul and where she's at in her walk with the Lord. Make no mistake about it, I think demonstrating a lack of desire to keep men from stumbling is a lack of maturity. But that doesn't mean the woman isn't saved, and it doesn't mean that I need to jump on everything that I see in my church the second I see it. I don't need to be that crusty Christian. I don't need to be the dress police. Now, don't hear me giving a pass on this. I'm just saying that we all need to be perhaps a little bit more pastoral in the way that we treat one another. Let's just say, for instance, I saw you wearing something that I didn't like, or I thought your hair was too long. Now, I get the difference. Just give me a little bit of grace here. I see you perhaps treating your kids in a way that I don't think you should be treating your kids. And the second I see it, I'm on it. How would you respond? Now, if she's wrong, I understand that. But remember, love overlooks a multitude of sins, and that doesn't mean we forever give it a pass. But I think we're just a little bit more wise in how we approach it. So, with that in mind, how might I approach it? I'd want to do some reconnaissance first. Remember, we're talking, I'm assuming in the church context, about Christian brothers and sisters. Is this a sister in Christ? Is this somebody who's visiting? Is this somebody who maybe has been invited to the church by somebody else in the church, and they're kind of just checking things out because they haven't been to church in years because of an experience they had? Now just imagine you parachute in with so, can I talk to you for a minute about what you're wearing? I think that there are some bigger things that we need to be considering as we take a look at doing what we're supposed to be doing inside of the body, and that is discipling one another. We are to be constantly practicing church discipline. No, not 1 Corinthians 5, Matthew 18. We're going to boot you out of the church unless you put some honey on your shoes to coax that skirt down a little bit. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about how we grow and help one another. So as you consider the necessity of approaching this woman, you might want to think long and hard about where she's at, why she is dressing this way. How do you react when somebody confronts you to disciple you, and then engage lovingly? I think asking questions and not making critical statements. I think constantly being mindful of God's patience with you as He goes about the business of growing you in sanctification. Now, having said that, I get there's some practical issues with this. There she is, and every guy who's gonna see her walking in, sitting behind her, gonna have a bit of a struggle with that. I get that, but it seems to me that if the church is hearing the word preached regularly, and I mean well and expositorily, and if they're hearing the gospel a lot, and if they're being reminded regularly the sewer out of which God pulled them, they should be able to deal with it, not get all about it, not approach her in an inappropriate way, and certainly not to shun the individual. They should be able to handle that somebody is not as sanctified as they are. In fact, that's really the key issue here. It is a recognition that when you see somebody in your church that's behaving in a way that maybe you used to and you don't anymore, those are the ones that we tend to jump on, aren't they? I used to be that way and I'm not anymore. I can't believe that you do that. We need to stop, and we need to recognize that God is growing them and He has them on the path of sanctification, and I want to aid in that. I don't want to hinder it. I don't want to shun. I don't want to drive them away. I want to treat them in the loving way that God actually treats me as He disciplines me. How does God discipline us? Not with snark, not with some sort of crack about, so when you're done with church, are you going to work downtown, if you know what I'm saying? God doesn't treat you like that. He is a loving Father who disciplines His children, and that is the way that we should treat one another. And if in all of this you heard me suggesting that we should never address it, that we should never talk about it, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm simply talking about how we go about the business of loving one another and not being crusty Christians. Got conflict in your life? Of course you do, because you live with sinners. We have a resource just for you. Conflict. It's all about biblical reconciliation. It is profoundly helpful, and you can find it at wretched.org.